Are you ready to rewind? Take a nostalgia-filled ride back to a simpler time. It's Acid Wash Memories, a retro pop culture celebration. And now your hosts, Joe Murata and Michael Quinn.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 35 of Acid Wash Memories, a retro pop culture celebration. And today, we're talking about The Price is Right. I'm Joe Murata, and with me is Michael Quinn. Come on down.
Here I am.
Here you are, ready
ding,
to play.
Ding, ding. All those noises.
All those noises. We'll be making some noises, mainly talking, folks, and thank you so much for being with us here. If this happens to be your first time listening to Acid Wash Memories, I do want to let you know that we have 34 other episodes available. Where, Quinn?
In the archives.
In the archives. You can check it out. Each week is a different slice of retro pop culture, so you might find something you like there. And whether you've been with us a little while or this is your first time, please be sure to follow us at AWM Podcast on Twitter.
Twitter X,
yes.
Twex.
Twex, yeah. Follow us on Twix. Also, you can, if you have a Facebook and you haven't blocked half your family on it yet or other people, and you want to talk to us and a bunch of other people about old pop culture, you can join Acid Washed Memories on Facebook. It's a group. The folks are nice, right?
They're very nice.
We talk
they
about
just want to talk about the old things.
Old stuff, right? Old crap, I think sometimes we say.
Old crap.
Old crap. So
Crapola.
Old. Talk about the crapola with us. Acid Washed Memories on Facebook. All right. That's it. We're ready to go here.
This is it.
So
the price is right now.
The price is right now. A good one, Quinn. I like that.
You see?
Yeah, ha, ha, ha.
As of press time in 2023, Bob Barker has just passed away at the age of 99.
Crazy.
Almost made it to 100, didn't go over, you know.
Yeah.
And
everyone making that joke.
Yeah, I know. And I'm probably the 7,000th person to make that one. But I think our fans, a couple of them mentioned it on the Facebook group. I think people maybe expected at some point a Price is Right episode anyway. So we figure, you know what? Like the Kinks said, give the people what they want.
Give the people what they want.
We're going to do it.
We're going to do it.
We're going to cover
it.
this fabulous show with fabulous prizes.
With fabulous prizes. And one thing I want to mention here at the outset before we get into it, this is more of a salute, a celebration of, a history of, which we also do here. Mm-hmm. We are not going to get into the finer nitty-gritty of the 7,000 pricing games that they've had.
Plinko and
right.
You're gonna play Plinko.
No Plinko. All right. We're more just giving a general overview and the history because we like to do that stuff here. But obviously, The Price is Right. If you were ever sick as a kid, you watch this show.
It's that show.
Here, right?
Because it's on like at noon
10:30,
or something.
yeah.
The Price is Right, weekday mornings.
And it was a 1-hour show for our childhood anyway.
Oh, God, it was so long.
It was a long game show.
Which is weird for a game show.
It is because, you know, Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune, the classic syndicated bundle, half hour each.
Yeah.
You know, in and out, man.
Yeah.
Quite rate of play.
No, this is luxurious game show.
Yeah,
you're gonna sit back and
leisure.
Yeah, it always felt like it was on for 6 hours.
It did though.
Yeah.
It did. And generations of kids watched this while homesick or maybe bored during the summer or whatever the case may be. And that's mainly where I watched it. And you know what's interesting? Even though the version we're talking about, well, the main version started in 1972. Even though this version is still on and has had another host for almost 16 years, Bob
Boy,
Barker.
how time flies, by the way, because that felt like it was like yesterday that Bob Barker retired.
It does. Bob Barker, obviously the beloved 35-year veteran, the stalwart, if you will.
I give the 7-Eleven guy $1 for a pack of gum, and he says, sorry, you overbid.
But we're going to talk about how we got there. Before we do that, of course, Quinn, I have a question for you. What is a price?
It's what something costs. So it's like, you know, like $9.99. It's $9.99. That's the price.
So are all things like different prices?
Oh, yeah. Not everything is $9.99. Sometimes it's like $14.99. Sometimes it's just on the money. It's like $20 exactly.
Oh, and is there tax sometimes with the price?
Occasionally. Sometimes tax is incled.
Okay, that's
Sometimes
true.
people even out their prices when they're nice, right?
Yeah, when
it's
they're
like
nice.
20, we built in the tax, right?
I gotcha. All right, well, now that we've covered that important detail, let's talk about how we got to the current version of The Price is Right. Again, current in quotations. It's been on since 1972.
Yeah.
Over half a century. But
not that it's changed too much.
It hasn't really.
And I think that's its uniqueness, right?
Yeah.
The Price is Right is how much it's stayed the same.
I guess there must be something, the people that get paid a lot of money and study these things, Quinn, there must be something to the psychology of that, of
Yeah.
comfort and keeping things the same for a long time.
Yeah, and I think that's, when I think about The Price is Right, I think of a set that looks like it's from the 70s,
Yeah.
but it's like 1995.
Right, exactly.
And then it's 2005 and it still looks the same.
And a microphone that looks
Yeah.
like it's from the 70s.
Yeah.
It probably would not surprise anyone listening here. It certainly doesn't surprise me that there was a 1950s version of this show.
Of course there was, because that was like the primary thing on TV in the early days was game shows because they were just easy to make.
Very cheap, right?
Yeah.
And the original Price is Right was the brainchild of, believe it or not, Mark Goodson.
Ah.
A Mark Goodson television production.
Yes, Mark Goodson. We know of him from Family Feud and other
Right.
shows. He was born in 1915, and he had begun his career as a broadcaster on the radio in the 1930s, the burgeoning radio scene in the 30s.
He's been at the beginning of everything.
The beginning of everything. He hosted a show on the radio known as Pop the Question, which was a quiz show where you threw darts at balloons to literally pop the question.
It's a little literal.
It's a little too on the nose,
Yeah.
isn't it? But anyway, the first game show that he developed was in 1948 for TV, and it was known as Winner Take All.
And let's play winner take all.
Then a show named Beat the Clock in 1950.
We play America's #1 party game, Beat the Clock.
What's My Line, which most of you have probably heard of, in 1950.
And now, what's my line?
I've Got a Secret in 1952. He's involved in all of these.
I've got a secret.
And To Tell the Truth in 1956.
Now, with those To Tell the Truth and all that, that's where they have a bunch of
Panels.
celebrities and they just like screw around and smoke
Yeah.
cigarettes and stuff.
Literally, that's exactly what those shows
It's
are.
like, here's
yeah.
Betty White, but she's like 20. Like,
Yeah, exactly right.
Betty?
Number 3, for the time that you were there, did you have very much daylight?
I don't know!
Maybe you guys are familiar with this. We do have some game show fanatics that are listening, and we apologize if we offend any of you. But you would probably know, if you're a little bit younger than this 50s generation, you would probably know Mark Goodson from, like we said, Family Feud. He developed the predecessor Match Game,
Right.
with Gene Ray, where everyone's drunk and celebrities.
boy, how long does this man live? He was in the early radio and he has all these game shows in
Yeah.
the 70s and 80s
and
stuff.
beyond. Ever hear Card Sharks?
Yeah.
Mark Goodson. But in 1956 as well, more post-war here, we're into the baby boom, as they say, where the American dream is in full force, right? And people are buying televisions, and they are watching the 3 channels that there are, maybe
Yeah.
4 because of the Dumont.
Dumont, yeah.
Gotta count Dumont.
We covered it.
We talked about it.
This is the Dumont Television Network.
But anyway, Mark Goodson started working with a man named Bob Stewart, and this gentleman, Bob Stewart, went on to create a show known as To Tell the Truth.
See, I thought you were going to tell me he went on to make Stewart's the restaurant.
I haven't been there in a long time.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's a good place. And he went on to do Password and the pyramid shows, $10,000 pyramid
Yep,
and all
them.
the various pyramid schemes.
The other game shows.
Yeah, the other one.
The ones that
The Wink Martindale ones.
The ones that fill Game Show Network.
Right, exactly. Now, this guy, Bob Stewart, who did not make the restaurant, but he was also a New York City radio broadcaster, and he had started developing an idea in his head only, for a show known as The Auctioneer. Okay, this eventually was developed in conjunction with Mark Goodson into a brand new show known as, folks, The Price is Right.
Aha.
So there you go. So
There
it
we
was
go.
actually the idea of Bob Stewart, but Mark Goodson worked with him.
The auctioneer, it's close enough. Like we're getting to the concept.
We're getting to the concept.
We got to
right?
work it. You
Have
know,
to start somewhere.
Yeah.
They needed a host, obviously, as all game shows do. And a man by the name of Bill Cullen was tapped as the host. Again, if you're a
Who?
game show fanatic, yeah, I know who to you. I get it.
Yeah.
And probably many of the people listening that are our age or younger. But if you're a game show fanatic, you probably know who Bill Cullen is. He had already been hosting various programs for both NBC, the national broadcasting company, and the Columbia Broadcasting
Yes.
System.
The Columbia
Columbia has
their own
one.
broadcasting system.
Their very own. And he appeared as a panelist on I've Got a Secret. So we'll get into Bill Cullen in a second and his hosting, but found this interesting, Michael Quinn. One guy that reportedly turned down the hosting job because he did not see any lucrative aspect of hosting a game show, and specifically this one, an actor by the name of Dick Van Dyke.
Makes sense. I mean, You ever notice the guys that like do actually make it? They turn down the game shows because the game shows seem like there was tons of them, right?
Yeah, and
the people who were thinking bigger were probably like, okay, that's like
I'm gonna go be a chimney sweep.
I want to get a little higher than this.
Fly a
right?
kite, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Anyway, remember, TV is new at this time, right? And Quinn said earlier, there were game shows everywhere because they're really easy to make. They're cheap to produce,
They
right?
fill the air.
And most importantly, they fill the air.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this, at the time when Price is Right started here in 1956, was just another game show on the pile. That's all it was. Because what you had was your celebrity panel shows, and you had your kind of lower brow ones like this, where it's people doing stuff. And this debuted on November 26th, 1956.
Jeez.
Yeah. On NBC, not
Only a year after
CBS.
Marty McFly did his escapades, huh?
He just missed it, man.
Yeah.
He could have seen this.
If he stayed for a little
Stayed
bit.
another year, he would have
He
seen it.
was planning on it
I
at first
know.
before they figured out that lightning situation.
Well, that's true. And then
Yeah.
where they went, they don't need roads, if
Yeah.
you recall.
they don't.
It's true.
They went to
didn't-
the future.
They,
They don't
flying
use the
cars.
roads there. Use the air.
This is all real, folks.
Use the air that they're filling with the Price is Right back in 1956.
Anyway, let's take a quick sample here of a Bill Cullen era episode. As you might imagine, it was, of course, in black and white because it's
Which is weird because the Price is Right is notable for its burst of color.
Yeah. And it's very much what you're going to expect from a 1950s game show. So let's take a listen. This is a January of 59 episode. Bill Cullen introducing The Price is Right.
Oh, big pop.
Big pop for Bill Cullen.
Thank you all, and welcome everybody to The Price is Right. Tonight we are introducing a brand new, exciting showcase which all you folks at home, as you know, can win.
Very
and if you just
folksy
stick
demeanor,
around,
huh?
we're going to
Plinko.
show it to you a little later on. There's something real
Stop bringing up
sensational in this one,
Plinko.
too. But right now, let's us meet four nice people. First
So
of all,
in this
our
version here,
current
you already
and
have
reigning
4
champion,
panelists.
Oh, wait, so they don't
Four
pull them from the
players.
crowd or
No.
whatever?
They're already on there. Look at this nerd.
Yeah.
And you can find these on.
They're pre-selected.
on
I don't
YouTube.
like that.
It bothers you?
Yeah.
So we're
It's
gonna,
against the spirit of The Price is Right.
It is. So we're going to talk a little bit about this version here before we move on. The basic gameplay of this 1950s version is that a prize was set out, right? And it was bid on. It's much like eBay with a minimum bid. Man, the auction days of eBay when there's no buy it now, a minimum bid was outlined. And once a contestant got close enough in their mind to what they thought the price was, they could freeze their bid, right?
Okay.
So the closest contestant, without going over the price of the item, they won the prize. And that was really, I mean, there were a few variations.
So it was just bidding. There's no like
Just
stupid
bidding.
games and
No,
like,
there's no Plinko.
There's no Plinko.
No wheels to spin and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, no.
The showcase.
was-
There's no showcase.
No show. Well, a showcase, but in a different way.
Yeah.
And if you recall, the initial concept here that Bob Stewart had was the auctioneer. They did retain a lot of that auction aspect here.
This sounds not as good as the
No.
regular version.
But I'll tell you what, it did pretty well. By the way, the prizes, pretty standard stuff you'd expect from game shows. You know, toasters, furs.
Oh, not like boats and vacations
Well,
and stuff. Like,
funny you should mention they did give away cars, so a brand new
Okay,
car, couches even. You got to sit somewhere
I
to
mean,
watch
that's
the show.
expensive.
Seriously, now it's
Furniture is.
It's still-
Why? What is up with the price of couches, huh? Like, it's always like this. It's like an investment, and it's like you better get the right one because, you know, you don't want to have to buy a new couch.
Well, you also don't want to sit on a crappy couch for
Right.
way longer than you have to.
but at
right?
the same time, it's something that over time you're going to ruin.
well, not if you treat it right.
Of course, but unless you put the plastic on it, you're not.
I don't
it's
mean
never
like
going to be
an
like
Italian
Yeah,
grandmother.
it's never going to be like perfect. So it's just ridiculous.
Do you treat your couch well?
I try.
You sit in a chair mainly.
Yeah, but I eat on the couch.
You do.
And it's
Well, 'cause you
easier.
have that table.
It's more convenient.
Funny,
yeah.
So sometimes, though, with this Price is Right here, there were crazy prizes like a Ferris wheel.
Wait, what?
Where are you going to put that,
Yeah.
by the way?
That's like it's might as well just give him a horse too. You know,
Yeah,
just
seriously.
put it in your backyard.
Or my personal favorite prize, Quinn, stock shares.
What?
Swear.
Imagine if they gave him like IBM or something like or like something that actually hit because
Something
in
that
the
hit.
50s it would be too late to get IBM, right? Because
Was it already?
it
would
was
know.
already one of the bigger companies. So you want to get something that was like you can't get Apple in the
No.
yeah, that was like you had to get that in the 70s.
EMI or something because they picked up the Beatles.
Yeah,
in the
like
60s,
some
something like that.
company that eventually is old now,
Yeah.
but eventually made it really big.
I like that. There was also a viewer participation aspect This just goes to show what time we were living in. TV watchers could send in a postcard, of course, and bid on stuff. Which, I mean, if you think about postcards, the fastest way probably besides a telegram at the time.
I suppose.
I mean, besides calling.
The show's like pre-taped anyway, right?
Yeah, it wasn't live, I don't think. Anyway, the announcer for the Bill Cullen era of Price is Right, Don Pardo, who, if the name isn't familiar to some of you, you probably know him, Quinn. Most famously, although he did a lot of things in his long career, the announcer for Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
Through all of it until like 2014, until he passed away.
That's crazy. Don Pardo in the 50s? That seems too early for him. 50s. I would think the 60s or late 60s he would have emerged.
Yeah, Don Pardo.
The Price is Right. Presented by RCA, world leader in electronics.
Now, in 1959, we're not going to get too deep into this, but we have to set the stage. You may have heard of it, Quinn. Some of you folks listening may have heard of this. There was the quiz show scandals, game show scandals, right? So
in that movie Quiz Show or whatever
yes,
that they talk about it.
100%. So even though there had been quiz shows since like the 30s on radio, it wasn't until 1954 that the Supreme Court officially ruled that quiz shows on radio and TV could give prizes and prize money to the players. Keep that in mind, because throughout the late 50s, various shows that I've never heard of, such as The Big Surprise, 21. You want to play 21?
Yeah. You know what's weird? Why though? Was it like a gambling thing? Did it fall under gambling or something?
I don't know the specifics of why. I know they had to. It was a whole thing, but I think it's something to do with maybe conflict of interest. I don't know.
It's odd that it was like that. It was illegal prior or whatever, or maybe legally questionable. If the Supreme Court ruled on it, means that there wasn't a law.
There was no law.
It was legally ambiguous.
Gray. Ambiguous. Another show, the $64,000 question, Tic Tac Doe and Dotto. Don't forget Dotto, that very famous show.
Dotto.
Yeah, Dotto.
Remember Dotto?
We always think of Dotto.
I love Dotto. They were all these shows I mentioned and some others were uncovered to have been, now if you're wearing a hat, take it off.
Yeah, hold on.
Rigged by the producers, by the sponsors, and by key contestants, all in an attempt to drive ratings.
Yeah, so it wasn't like they were trying to get the money, right? It was more
Not necessarily.
They were trying to like make it entertaining. It's like wrestling or something. They were just like, it's like we'll get this guy. You know, he'll seem like, oh man, is he going to get it? Like, but he's entertaining, so that they rig it so that he wins, so that he's on the next episode, and then the ratings go up and up and up.
Sponsors were intervening and things like that.
Yeah, because then and then also sponsors. They, more people watching, more people see the sponsors
product,
loot, whatever.
Winston cigarettes, like whatever.
And so everybody wins, including the guy that they rigged it for.
Exactly. Ivory Soap, whatever the sponsors were. Shocking, I know, folks, in this great lands and times in which we live now, to even imagine that something that is supposed to be legitimate could be rigged.
It's funny to think now only because, like, I feel like if that happened now, nobody would give a shit.
Nobody would give a shit.
Because everyone's like, it's corporations, whatever.
Everything's rigged, right? Is basketball rigged? Probably. Is football rigged? Everyone says everything's fixed, right?
According to a lot of people, yes.
Not wrestling, though.
Yeah.
That's real.
That's absolutely real.
Totally.
It's still real to me, damn it!
Anyway, because it was the 1950s and people had shit else to do, except watch TV or walk around or whatever, they did a public opinion polls and surveys and crap like that, and somewhere around like 90% of the population, meaning 9 out of 10 people, 90 out of 100, they knew about this quiz show scandal stuff. It was in the public eye, man. It was in the zeitgeist.
In the paper.
And in the paper.
I wonder if they were reporting on it on TV on the very networks that were presenting the shows.
Well, that would be adding insult to injury, wouldn't it?
It's like Cronkite. It's like, hey, this show that we air, it's rigged.
In other news, the game show world has been shaken up. A series of scandals threaten to undermine both the credibility and quite possibly the financial implications of the entire game show business. And now, back to Joe Marotta and Michael Quinn for a bunch of bullshit.
So anyway, all these sullied shows are canceled in the late 50s. The Price is Right, however, escaped all of that. They weren't rigging anything. They avoided all the crap. People started watching The Price is Right more and more.
Else
right? All these quiz
all the
shows
competition went away.
Yep. And kind of just continued on its merry way. And then in 1963, for those of you that like the dates, Price is Right moved from NBC to ABC, the American Broadcasting
Excuse
Company.
me? ABC? I wouldn't think it would be. Well, it's a game show. Nobody cared anymore because the quiz show thing is over.
That's true. Remember,
ABC's always like the lower rung back then.
Remember we did Wheel?
Yeah.
However many episodes ago that was, available in the archives. That bounced around also, right? Yeah. I mean, it aired on CBS, it aired on NBC, it aired on ABC.
I'll tell you what, it always does make me bring a smile to my face how plucky and crappy ABC is. Like that, it might be why I'm such a fan of them, because they're.
Do you think they're the crappy one?
Not anymore, because once Disney bought them, the crap era, like where we're the lower rung guy, was kind of over. They had budget suddenly and like Disney World tie-ins and stuff.
You've always viewed them as inferior to like NBC or something?
NBC was definitely like the most prestigious, with CBS. Actually, I feel like CBS and NBC were always like dueling for the these are the premier like networks.
Maybe depending on the decade.
ABC's like, who gives a shit? Yeah, it's like, we're here too.
We're here too.
But then Fox came in and it kind of like puffed up ABC's like stature a little bit.
And they're like, we like families, watch our stuff. Yeah, that's true. But anyway, moved to ABC, the High Network in 1963. Still had Bill Cullen as the host. However, since Don Pardo had an NBC contract, he could not go with them as the announcer. So the future Jeopardy announcer, Johnny Gilbert, was tapped.
What?
Yes. Sometimes Johnny Olson would fill in, who was another famous game show announcer. Anyway, Price is Right was quietly canceled in 1965.
Oh, so the show's over? We're done here?
It's done. See you, everybody. Yeah. See you next week. Wait a minute, Quinn. Game shows are cheap, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if a network needs programming, daytime.
Somebody had a gap and they needed to fill it.
Well, yeah. Mark Goodson, always hustling, man. Mark Goodson.
He just put Prices Right in the vault. It's like, whoever, somebody's going to come along eventually.
Yep. So he's like, you know what? Why not? It's 1972 now. Why don't we revive it? I think it's been long enough, 7 years.
Yeah.
It's just so funny it's not that long.
Yeah.
But it's like...
And wrestling fans out there are like, see Jim Cornette rule or whatever.
7 years, for angle reusement. Yeah. The interesting thing is, right, 1965, when I think of 1965, and when I think of 1972, I didn't live through either of these years. Maybe some of you did. To me, that seems like two very different periods of time.
Well, yeah, but it was also because the 60s was a turbulent, changing time. Right. So by the time you get through that decade, a lot has changed, right?
We're talking in 65, we haven't been to Vietnam yet.
Mm-hmm.
In 1965, color TV is just coming out, literally just becoming...
New tech.
New tech. By 1972, we have had the Vietnam War and all that. Martin Luther King, Robert F. Kennedy, and we have had, what else went on? The Civil Rights Movement.
Yeah,
it really
a lot of things. A lot of things
changed. So 7 years. You think 7 years ago? We're recording this in 2023. 7 years ago was only 2016.
It's like nothing.
It feels like nothing. So like if they were reviving a show from 7 years ago, we'd probably be like, that ended?
Yeah. I mean, you never know, too. I mean, like, I know things had changed, but I'm sure people, as they were living through it, it felt like 7 years ago wasn't that long ago either.
You're probably right. I mean, honestly, yes. They probably felt the way we do now.
The times have changed, but still, like, their perception of time is still the same. It's more like, wow, things changed so fast. Right? It's like, but it's still, wow, that wasn't that long ago to them, right?
I think that's a great way to look at it. I think it's a lot easier when you look back and you see the differences. It's very fair. But Goodson's proposal here was for a new version of The Price is Right that was less auction-y. Not the... I mean, it's kind of like, remember the home shopping pilot, the Wheel of Fortune Pilots Shoppers Bazaar?
That sucked.
Right.
Yeah, it was no good.
Because it's just people doing stuff. I don't want to watch just boring
furniture.
They were sitting in like antique chairs, like gentlemen's chairs and stuff.
Yeah, but it was all about like, hey, we can win this furniture.
It's real.
You want this? It was like being an Ashley furniture store or something. Like, it was very strange.
Which don't buy a couch from, apparently. I've heard.
Oh, are they no good?
I've heard from people that could afford better couches not to buy one from there because they did.
Are they worse than IKEA somehow?
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But you have a Macy's one, right?
No, my chair is Macy's, but my couch is IKEA.
And your couch is fine.
Got a hot deal on that.
I don't mind your couch.
Yeah, I like my couch.
I'd side on it. Anyway, back to the revival here. More bidding in one round, just like the, bid. There's going to be some bidding, right? But overall, we're going to have games. We're going to have different elements. We're going to keep changing it up. It's not going to be one thing.
Not this boring question auction stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And all of the contestants would be drawn directly from the audience.
Huh?
That is probably one of the defining characteristics, I think, when people think Price is Right. The come on down.
So So this has a natural effect, by the way, when they start doing this of like, I don't know if it was immediate, but it's pretty much all throughout the 70s as people start wearing crazy outfits and stuff so that, hey, pick me.
Jumping around like an
people
idiot.
dressed up like bees and like all sorts of weird shit. You know what I mean, right? It's like everyone has like some weird costume on.
A gimmick.
And then God forbid it's a Halloween episode. It's like everyone just looks like a freak out there. It's like there's usually people in costumes, but then it gets like really wacky. You got people dressed up like Frankenstein and stuff in the audience.
Frankenstein.
But I just mean it's like this picking from the audience thing. It's this natural like everyone just tries to look stupid because they're trying to get picked. Right? They're trying to get noticed.
Yeah, no, this is exactly what it is. And they run down all excitedly and stuff.
They never pick the people in the costumes. It always upset me.
That is upsetting because I would like to watch Frankenstein bid on the price of a coffee machine.
You see everyone dressed up like an idiot, and they're like, "Come on down, Bill," and it's just some dude. Like, and you're like, "But why?"
Like, I want to see a mummy guess what a couch costs.
Pick the guy dressed up like a mummy.
Pick the mummy. The hell. There should be a Halloween spinoff that's just only characters.
Like every episode of The Price is Right is like just everyone in crazy shit.
Year-round.
Yeah. I mean, they got cosplay nowadays, so people's costumes are even more elaborate.
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah. People dressed up like The Undertaker and shit.
Dressed up like the fake Undertaker.
Yeah.
All right. We need a host, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, game show hosts are unique, Quinn. We talked about him a bit when we were doing Wheel of Fortune. Chuck Woolery, right? He was the original host of Wheel, and he did Love Connection and Greed and things like that. And
Greed.
Remember that?
Yeah.
After Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, they're like, "Oh, we need our version."
Horrible.
I know. Regis was a game show host, and Dick Clark, but these are multi-entertainment personalities. But Pat Sajak, a very notable host, and Alex Trebek, and Wink Martindale, and Gene Rayburn from Match Game, Richard Dawson.
Yeah.
They're unique. Because when people think, the stereotypical game show host, they think of a prim and proper guy with the white teeth and maybe a slight tan.
Maybe a bad toupee.
Or just dyed, black or brown hair.
And sometimes he's got some grays on the side, but the top is dyed.
Sophisticated gray.
Yeah. These are all game show people things.
It really is. And the guy that they wound up filling that spot with was no different for that period of time. A man by the name of Bob Barker.
What a name, by the way. Can we just talk about this name?
It's alliterative.
Is that his real name? That's not a stage name or anything?
As far as I understand, that's his real name. Robert William Barker, Michael Quinn.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But who is Bob Barker? We know of him now, but how did this guy start out? What happened here? Well, he was born in December of 1923 in Darrington, Washington. That's Washington State, the northern part of it. Which is really a remote part of the country, especially during the 20s. Think about it.
Being in New York, in his career, that's crazy.
Absolutely.
Quite a jump.
Now, I love this story I think it's cute. He met his would-be wife, right, at age 15 at an Ella Fitzgerald concert. And I just
talk about like living in the old school, right? Yeah, like
so he would have turned 15 in December of 38. So this is probably 1939, let's say. Ella Fitzgerald.
You know what's funny? Remember I was joking in our music episode about how people think like there was like no music before and people didn't go to like concerts and stuff.
Right.
This is like proof that's not true. There was just the artists of the day, like, and people would just go to the concerts.
People 10 years ago would be like, I met my wife at a Paramore concert or something like that,
Yeah.
Ella Fitzgerald.
Yeah, why not?
The one and only. Yeah, I love Ella. Anyway, he went to Drury College in Missouri and joined the Navy Reserve in 1943, obviously World War II.
I mean, everyone was doing it, right?
Yeah.
Back then.
Didn't serve, but he was in the reserve. Sorry for the rhyme. Didn't mean to. Graduated college, Drury, and became a broadcaster on the radio, which seems to be it seemed easy to do back then.
Kind of, but also...
Hell, it might be easy to do now.
I mean, it was... I feel like back in those times, it was probably considered a very technical thing, too, to be even involved with radio in any way, right?
Yeah, probably, right?
Like, it was like, wow, this guy's on the cutting edge over here, right?
And very prestigious, right? To have your voice heard by people.
But also a little plucky, too, because it's new tech.
You think there's pluck?
Oh, yeah, there's definitely pluck.
A lot of pluck, or?
Yeah, a little.
Moderate amount of pluck.
Shut the pluck up!
Anyway, he went from Missouri to Florida as broadcaster, and then to sunny California, and he actually had a radio show for a few years known as the Bob Barker Show in Burbank. of course, Burbank, and not Fresno, tried out as the host of Truth or Consequences and got the job.
He got it.
Yeah, in 1956.
Remember this name. You're going to be hearing a lot about him. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bob Barker. Here's Bob. Hiya, kid. Limber? All set? Let's see. The Dean Cromwell always says, Yep, he's ready. Relax. That's good. Nice to, huh?
I feel like I had Perry O'Brien's shot put, right?
Nice to have you aboard, Bob.
Believe me, it's a thrill and an honor for me to be here, Ralph.
Thus starts his TV career.
Yep. So the same time that the original Bill Cullen Price is Right was launching, Bob Barker was also starting as a game show host.
It makes sense how he would get the prices right later down the line,
yeah,
right?
They knew
Because he had to start somewhere, and we got to pick somebody with experience, right?
Yep. And he had it by then. I mean, you're talking 1972. That's 16 years under his belt as a game show host, which is not, that's a lot of years. To
also,
be doing something.
where do you find somebody has game show host on their resume? There's not a lot back then, especially.
There weren't as many, no.
I'm sure nowadays with YouTube and stuff, you could kind of say you hosted a game show that you did yourself. But
that would be like us saying we host a radio show, right? Radio experience.
I don't know. Ask our listeners. I think we could get away with that.
Well, let us know on Twitter at AWM Podcast or join the group. And let us know, obviously, your Price is Right memories. And did you watch it when you were sick home from school? Like everybody, like every kid in America.
It's definitely a show you watch with like chicken noodle soup.
Yeah, right.
Next to you.
Right. I had one summer where I had a specific like babysitters thing I went to for one summer. I think it was 94. And
of course you remember the year.
Of course I do. And I would get dropped off there at about 9:30. And I remember every single day. One kid was my age, one was like 2 years younger. And the mom, every single day, they would watch The Price is Right.
It's a good show.
I had no problem with it, yeah. But I remember that. It was like, we have to watch The Price is Right.
And then we can go do what we're doing.
Exactly, which we did. It was very, very strange summer. Anyway, Bob Barker would actually host this Truth or Consequences show until 75. So there's some crossover here with Price is Right. But let's get back to 1972. We're ready to revive the show. It's been 7 long years without The Price is Right on the air, Quinn. Heaven forbid.
I bet you nobody missed it. There was too much stuff going on.
There was a ton of shit going on, like you said.
Yeah.
There was Beatlemania,
Vietnam,
the Monkees, Martin Luther King. Like we said, we went to the moon.
Yeah, we also just landed on the moon. Just that that nonchalant, easy thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Hey, moon men, aren't you forgetting to mention something? You really put the ass in astronauts.
One detail we didn't mention yet, though, about this is still a half-hour game show. The Bill Cullen one was. This is a half-hour game show. And we have a change of network yet again. So we've been on NBC. We've been on ABC. Why not just do the hat trick? Why don't we be on CBS?
Doing all three.
One? Yeah. So CBS picks it up.
I wonder if Price is Right has the rare distinction of being on all 3 networks.
It is the only game show, I believe, that was officially a network show for all 3. Because the reason I'm saying that, folks, is you might say, well, Wheel of Fortune was on NBC and CBS. Yes, that was the network one. The syndicated one
doesn't count
an ABC show.
Right.
It just mainly airs on ABC. It's not how it works, though. Anyway, the show that we know, The Price is Right, the one that is still on to this day, 51 years later, beloved American institution, daytime television. It debuted on September 4th, 1972, and we're going to talk all about it on the other side of this break. Right now, we've got to just do our bidding, clearly.
Yeah.
We've got to go take a step away.
Gotta take a bid.
Take a bid. You guys take a bid also if you need to. Maybe get a beverage. Let us know if this is a radio show. In the meantime, listen to some commercials, but we will be back for the exciting second half of The Price is Right here on Acid Wash Memories.
It's a real thing. Coke is, that's the way it should be. Coca-Cola, what the world wants to see. Oh yeah, it's a real thing. Coca-Cola, that's the way it is. Fill a bottle of Coke and the way it will stay.
New from K-Tel Records, 22 explosive hits, 22 original stars, Gallery.
Oh, it's so nice to be with you.
The great Sammy Davis Jr.
Oh, the Candyman can.
Olivia Newton-John.
If not for you.
Hamilton, Joe, Frank, and Reynolds.
Don't pour your love out on me.
Derek and the Dominoes' big hit, Layla. Osmonds, Detroit Emeralds, Millie Jackson, Flash, April Wine, Charlotte's, Pop Tops, Fortune.
Here comes that rainy day feeling again.
Joe Simon.
You got power in your kiss.
Lobo.
Possibleness.
Hot Butters, Popcorn. And many more. Get K-Tel's 22 explosive hits now. 22 original stars and one great stereo LP. Only $3.99.
The family at Wendy's invites your family to try our simple but unique menu, featuring quarter-pound, half-pound, and three-quarter-pound hamburgers, homemade secret recipe chili, crisp hot French fries, and thick, creamy Frosties. Come in and relax in our old-fashioned dining room, or try our speedy pickup window service. The family at Wendy's fixes hamburgers 256 different ways with the old-fashioned concern that brings you back time after time.
And now we return to more acid-washed memories.
And welcome back to Acid Washed Memories Retro Pop Culture Celebration. And this is episode number 35. We're talking all about The Price is Right. I'm Joe Morata. That's Michael Quinn.
Hi.
Hello there, Michael.
We're here.
Hope you guys had a nice little break there. Just a reminder here that we do this show every week. If you like it, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Leave us a review. We'd really appreciate that. And be sure to follow us.
Yeah.
We were talking about the 70s and the turmoil of the late 60s and the 70s and how it was just time for a new Price is Right, clearly.
That's what everyone was really pining for all during Vietnam and the Beatles and stuff.
If only we had the Price is Right
See,
back.
all those things were just in lieu of the Price is Right? They were like...
They were filling a gap.
We got to just do other shit, right?
They were duct tape.
Yeah.
But the real thing was coming back. We've got a new host, Bob Barker. We've got a new network, CBS. We've got a new concept. It's not just sitting there watching people bid on stuff. And as such, they actually called it the new Price is Right.
Did they really? They
really
actually
did.
called it that?
They really did.
Apparently they stopped a long time ago.
Yeah, which I'll cover.
Yeah,
they really did. So there was still bidding, which the game One Bid is the one that most people know. It's the qualifying game, which is played with the four contestants who come down from the audience, and they stand at the foot of the stage. You know, contestants row, I think they call it.
Out of the throng of people.
Yeah.
Stupid, silly outfits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how people qualify to play, right? Yep. And then Showcase Showdown is the one where it determines who's going to compete in the showcases at the end of the show, right? We all know that part, I'm sure. I'm trying to keep it very basic because, again, folks, there's 7,000 pricing games over the years, and I can run down some names of them, but I really don't.
But basically, like, you win the original. What's the first part called again? I never remember the name.
One Bid or the Showcase Showdown?
The initial when they call everyone down.
One Bid.
One Bid, right? So you win the One Bid, and then you get to play some dumbass game. Like it's like always weird. Like it's always like I don't know, some shingles off a roof fell off, like, and they're covering something, and it's always like these weird boards and stuff.
Sometimes there's golf.
There's golf, and it's all over the place, really. And usually there's the girls, and they're like, "Oh, you can win this," and then they like pose in front of the thing or whatever.
Yes, Barker's Beauties. They were known. There was also, I do want to mention, there were female models in the 50s and 60s.
Was
version.
there? Okay.
Yes, they were. I don't know if they were called Cullen's Cuties, but if not, they should have been. Sorry,
that would be a good one.
Thank you. But yeah, they're the Barker's Beauties, which we'll talk a little bit more about. There were a ton of games, though. I'm just going to give you guys some names of some of these pricing games.
I can give you the first one, Plinko.
Stop it with the Plinko.
You're gonna play Plinko!
There's some that they still have to this day, such as Bonkers, Bullseye, Cliffhangers, Danger Price, Do the Math, Double Prices, Freeze Frame, and obviously there was a lot of games that they used to have, such as Give or Keep, Hit Me, Hurdles, Joker, Magic, Mystery Price, Split Decision, Shower Game, Professor Price, Super Saver, Trader Bob, Walk of Fame, etc. The bottom line is, though, it's supposed to entertain the elderly and children. The show.
Is that really what, like, their actual written name somewhere?
No, I'm just inferring that.
I mean, yes, but you're absolutely right. But I just think that would be funny if that was like in their their show Bible or something. Like
their show Bible, yeah.
It's like the number one thing we're trying to do here is entertain the elderly and children.
What a tagline,
Yeah.
huh? But it's what it is. Anyway, the I guess one of the most notable aspects for me as a kid, because I remember the first game show that I really took note of, and I think this is true for a lot of kids, but not everyone. It was Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, Wheel of Fortune,
right?
definitely.
Because of the colorful wheel and the board and the letters and Vanna.
Yeah, but you want to talk about colorful. The Price is Right was like a rainbow or something. Like it was, you turn that on, it's just like your TV's glowing. Like it's like, what is all of this?
So much color, very 70s.
And that probably has a lot to do, again, with the time that started, that color television was coming out. And the set is very explicitly designed to highlight color televisions. But what's kind of funny about that is that, years when we got HD and all, like they never changed that like explosion of color look to the show.
Why do it? Why?
So it still looks like that.
Yeah, it still looks like that. It's very retro. And the thing that always caught my eye as a kid after knowing what Wheel of Fortune was, is when this show would pass by, or I'd pass by it on the channels, was seeing this giant wheel, but it was like, it was
and it has that
vertical
digital sound. Beep, 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 beep,
and they would spin that wheel. And I'd be like, is this Wheel of Fortune?
Yeah.
I didn't get it.
That's the original Wheel of Fortune.
That is. I mean, we came to find out that wheel was actually predates the Wheel of Fortune wheel.
Right.
So will I stop?
I think I like, what always got me about that wheel is that it's only like half exposed. And there's a little pointy thing, and it's like you have to. That's how it like lands. So it's kind of like you get to see the reverse angle of the Wheel of Fortune, right? Like where you're like the guys are looking at it from the side or whatever.
Did you ever see behind it? It just looks like a bunch of crap behind it. There's like plywood with writing on it and stuff.
Garbage.
Yeah, it's like junky.
Yeah, well, it's a set. I
know. You show the good side to the audience, right? Of course, I understand that.
I mean, we're talking about a game show here, Joe. With a budget, we don't have no budget. Yeah,
elderly and children.
Yeah.
Anyway, another big component of The Price is Right. Again, speaking of retro, you would have to consider the theme song. And why don't we take a quick listen to the classic Price is Right theme song? Very retro. I mean, it was current,
and they never changed it. Again, this is what I mean about The Price is Right. Is I think today now a lot of it's from, and honestly, since like the 90s has been the fact that it looks like it's from the 70s. Like I'm sure like the 80s it kind of it wasn't sticking in just yet.
Yeah.
But like by the 90s it looked like. Are these old episodes?
Right.
Like, I'm not sure. And then it'd be confusing because there'd be this juxtaposition of people dressed in 90s clothes on a 70s set. And you'd be like, what is even happening here?
You're 100% right. I think we should do something here. We should take a quick look at Bob Barker in 1972, his first one, The New Price is Right. A dark-haired Bob Barker.
This does not look like the Bob Barker I grew up with.
No, me neither. Let's take a quick listen here to Bob Barker's first episode.
Wonderful awards for smart shoppers.
His voice is still the same.
Price is Right?
Yeah.
Because we have some exciting new games that you will enjoy right there at home.
Very game show host, isn't he?
And
New
we're going
Price
to
is
get
Right.
that first game going
It
right
is.
now. Here's the first
Not a fan
item
of his
up for
suit.
bids on the new
That's very
Price is
classy,
Right.
I thought. See, look, the new, even in the logo. It's a fur coat! They're
Now,
yelling.
these people still look like they're from the 60s.
I know.
Even his outfits look like they're from the model here and everything.
That's very 60s.
Yeah.
This beautiful coat can be yours if the
new
price
coat.
is right.
Well, why not? If the price is right, Quinn. What the hell?
But for the inaugural New Price is Right, it seems low tier to me.
But just,
like,
you wouldn't take a new coat?
oh, I would take a new coat.
Okay, so.
Because you could sell that, but a fur? Are you kidding me? I wouldn't wear it, but
I don't think I would either.
Yeah.
I think I look pretty silly in fur. But
the
anyway.
reason in like Goodfellas they're always like dealing in furs and stuff. Like they know.
They know.
They know it's not about wearing it, it's about we could sell that somewhere.
Do something with this mink over here.
Yeah.
Anyway, this new Price is Right was so wildly, incredibly successful that the new was dropped in 1973.
Oh wow, they just it's like people didn't even remember the old Price is Right.
So that's quick.
Yeah.
Think about how quick that in 1 year.
They're probably like, nobody calls it the new. It's the Price is
the Price
Right.
is
Like,
Right.
that's what people call it. We're not going to do that. It's not like the real Ghostbusters or anything where they're like legally obligated, right? It's true.
It's true. And it was a half hour. Well, CBS gave it a whole hour.
Oh, that's how we got to an hour. It wasn't an hour initially, eh?
In 1975. That's only 3 years in. We were talking about Bob Barker, his style, his voice, very classic, professional game show announcer
kind of
voice.
Folksy and rustic, too, at the same time.
Yeah, which is the state he's from, is very folksy and rustic.
Now, maybe it's just because he had gray hair when I was watching it or whatever, but even there, he always had like a grandfatherly voice. I don't know how else to describe it.
He's like 48 there, but he does. He just has that grandfatherly voice that I can't do.
Kids, like that. Like it's like
it's
just
a little creepy, Quinn.
Yeah,
come here, kids. Yeah, we're those originals.
We're those originals. Yeah, but Grandpapa.
Hey, Ryan, how is the game or whatever?
Yeah.
Grandfather, can I have a whirl of this? Anyway.
It's all real.
This is all real.
Hi, Grandpa.
Hey there, Ryan.
Grandpa, you can't imagine how many different butter candies I just saw in the store.
Yes, I can imagine that.
But you can't imagine how many of them had golden wrappers.
Well, I can imagine that too.
But Grandpa, can you imagine that there are people who actually buy that other stuff?
The big thing about Bob Barker, style-wise, though, and they intentionally kept it like this forever and ever, is he used, very notably, very famously, a long, thin microphone.
Yes. Now this, in the 70s, this was like a new thing,
yes.
Right? Like this is kind of allowed him to like get around, because it's on a long cord. I think that was like the technical reason.
It's a telescoping mic. It's lightweight.
It's lightweight, but the cord was extremely long as well. And so he's able to get through this set of all this crap, like all these different games and stuff.
Yeah,
like it's like a mobile situation. It's probably for like necessity at first, right?
Yes. Well, because
before cordless mics,
it's 100%. Because think of the logistics here, right?
Yeah,
they're pulling in people from the crowd. It's a lot harder to get lapel mics on them and do sound check and make sure they're wearing it right, that they don't bump it.
So Bob takes this wand, basically
selfie stick.
Yeah, and he's taking it all over the place.
Yeah. And
it looks like it has some bend to it too, in case he needs to. Like he needs to like bend the.
What game is that? Is that Plinko?
No, I mean aim it at hey, we need to hear this guy or whatever.
That's exactly the point. It was for logistics more than anything. And again, the lightweight aspect is because you're going to be holding this thing for a friggin' hour. You don't want your arm to get tired. And that sounds dumb, but it's
funny.
True.
If this show came out like in 1997, that would never have been a thing. Because there would have been wireless mics, he would have just been able to hold the standard size one that's wireless.
Yeah, and they would have also given like the contestants probably something else. Yeah. You know what I mean? They probably wouldn't pull them from the crowd if the show started in the 90s. Maybe
I don't know about that. It loses like all its appeal without the crowd pulling.
I think you're right. I think that's one of the. I guess we'll talk about the show. That is one of the biggest aspects here. Is it's regular people.
Yeah, it feels like if you go to see the show, you may win the Price is Right. Unlike all the other ones where it's like, you have to go through a qualifier and all this nonsense.
Just to get on Wheel, you have to go through qualifiers. Wheel!
Yeah, exactly.
You're guessing letters, and they're like, no, you're not good enough for this.
I could never understand qualifiers on Wheel. Maybe Jeopardy, just so you don't look like an idiot. But like
Jeopardy's very hard to get into.
But Wheel? Like, it's literally guessing. But then again, it's funny. They have qualifiers on Wheel, and man, oh man, Achilles.
Mythological hero Achilles.
Achilles, yeah, that.
Mythological hero Achilles.
But anyway, the microphone is. I looked it up because I was like, what is that? Most of the sources say it was a Sony ECM51. So if you want to go buy one,
all you mic dorks out there are like, I got to have that Bob Barker mic.
I ordered one. No, I'm just kidding. And obviously they kept it well beyond when it would have been a fashionable microphone, probably for traditional purposes. Like Drew Carey still uses it.
So, again, I think even the mic plays into nothing ever changes on The Price is Right.
Correct.
And that is like a strategy of how it's like marketed and presented and stuff. You know what I mean? Is that all these things are changing, but The Price is Right will always be the same, right? Maybe the girls are in different clothing.
Yes.
So they don't look crazy in like 70s garb.
Well, yes, of course.
But other than that, it's a dude in a suit and a skinny mic and
people guessing on prices.
People in wild costumes in the audience.
Frankenstein.
Yeah, Frankenstein and all sorts of people coming up. And, it's just their 15 minutes of fame, man.
As lowbrow, and I don't mean that in an insulting way, but when you compare it to shows like Jeopardy and the knowledge-based shows, which some people view as pretentious anyway, as lowbrow as a concept as this is, perhaps, and Wheel, this might be a little more tricky in certain aspects with the pricing, but I don't know.
I totally agree with that. I am actually very poor at guessing these prices when I would watch the show. Like I just have no mind for that. That's why it's like the people that go, I think there's people that go and they are just good at it, and people are like, you should just go to The Price is Right, right?
Yeah, I think so. I know we have a friend that we know that would be very good on The Price is Right.
He would be amazing at this game.
And he's the guy that you take with you if you're buying a car.
Yeah.
I'm not lying either. Yeah. He's the guy you take with you.
Took him with me to buy my car.
There you go. Another thing about Bob Barker here is he was the first, or at least the first notable. We talked about game show hosts earlier, right? And the archetype of a game show host with the prim and proper and blah, 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 and the dyed hair. He was the first one to not dye his hair anymore.
Yeah.
And this was in 1987.
Jeez, only like 10 years in, he looks like the way I knew him.
So
that was quick.
He addresses this on a 1987 episode of The Price is Right.
Ma'am, thank you. Lady in the back row says she loves my hair. Now, I know that if you saw the show yesterday, my hair was dark. And I'll tell you, I had a blind date last night. Never again. But do you like it? Do you like it?
I like that his hair's the topic of...
So,
if you don't...
Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
He's saying the other day, so what, did they tape all these episodes up to a point when he had dark hair and then he just like... The next taping session was a couple months later or something?
That's my... Well, I don't know when, but it probably was the end of a cycle.
Yeah.
And
he just didn't dye his hair.
Or he had temporary dye in. Maybe he didn't use, permanent dye.
Oh, the washout kind.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I'm not sure. But yeah, so Bob Barker was the first one to break that tradition and be like, no, I'm going to let my hair go gray.
But by over 10 years in, I feel like you can get away with that, right? Because now you're like, okay, this guy's going to be around a while.
He's in his 60s now.
We're gonna age with him. Right, he's gonna get elderly while we're watching this show. Right,
Yes.
It's like,
and that he did.
Yeah,
Bob Barker actually became the executive producer of The Price is Right in 1988.
Wow,
16 years into the job. I don't want to get too much into all the controversies with Bob Barker, not because that we can't handle talking about it, but because I don't feel like that's the flavor of the episode. But to briefly sum it up, once he became executive producer. And into the 90s, there were several controversies in terms of sexual discrimination, affairs with some of his Barker's beauties, other things of that nature that you are more than welcome to look up on your own time. That's just not the flavor of this week's episode.
I'll tell you this. I was not aware of any of this because I was a child.
Yeah, same here. I didn't either.
I'm eating chicken noodle soup, and it's like, hey, this show's on.
Yeah, and this guy's funny.
I was not aware of any of these scandals.
And that's good. I mean, one way or another, whatever you think of it, we're just talking about the show, and mainly more than anything else. So just damned if we do, damned if we don't, but I wanted to mention it.
Well, there you go.
Make sure
it's
that
mentioned.
We're aware of it, okay? Yeah. So Barker's beauties were an aspect, and Rod Roddy, the announcer, is another aspect.
Yes,
you remember Rod Roddy?
Rod Roddy.
He would always be wearing some stupid clothes, and he was just very beloved and very loud.
I mean, this is a guy that you can tell when you look at him, he's got a gig that he's not going to lose.
Right.
if you're dressing like this, I don't give a crap. I'm gonna get a look, right? I'm gonna get a look together, and I'm gonna look a certain way.
The way you describe that, though, is actually perfect because that's pretty much true. I mean, Rod Roddy stayed on as the announcer all the way up until 2003, around the time of his death.
Yeah,
right before he died, and
you barely ever saw the guy too. I mean, he doesn't have to look like Bob Barker or anything.
It's just great that he went. Rod Roddy, first of all, is a great name.
Yeah, Bob Barker and Rod Roddy. How do they pull that off?
What is his? Let's find out his real name.
There's no way that's real.
Yeah, it is actually Robert Ray Roddy.
They got two. They got two perfect names.
They got two. I should also mention here, Johnny Olson was the announcer originally for this revival until 1985.
Okay.
And then it was
a
Rod
while.
Roddy. Yeah, just so you guys know. And there were fill-ins, Gene Wood, a few other people. But anyway, Rod Roddy was the primary announcer, and then Rich Fields took over in 2003, 2004.
Barker was still around.
And yeah, Barker was still around. Then Rich Fields is probably the one that really became... that I remember hearing yelling, brand new car! Yeah. Like I know other people do, but Rich Fields is the one that got really loud doing it.
It's funny. The Price is Right, actually, one of it's almost like a trope, was a brand new car, or like that kind of way of announcing it or whatever.
A new car!
They lift the curtain in the car with a brand new car.
It's like you got Bob Barker and Carnival Barker.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Shut up.
There's syndicated versions of this, though. Did you know that? Because most people don't.
What?
Unless you're a hardcore game show fan. Yes.
When was that on?
I'll tell you.
Oh, maybe this is how I saw it at like noon or some weird time.
It wasn't. I'll tell you why. At the same time the new Price is Right debuted in 1972 for CBS daytime, a syndicated version debuted, hosted by a man by the name of Dennis James. Who? And this aired for 5 years, from 72 to 77 in syndication half hour. Then there was an 80s syndicated version for 1 year, 85-86, known as the Nighttime Price is Right.
Nighttime.
See, that doesn't feel right, does it?
That's not when this show should ever be on.
I don't think it doesn't belong next to,
unless the Price is Right.
Jeffersons.
Unless the Price is Right was having some kind of like epic tournament style Price is Right, where they were going to like blow it all off on a nighttime episode or something.
Yeah.
Like that's the only time you could ever try something like that, right? Where we're going to have this like very special episode where like the best Price is Right guesser people are going to like face off in the ultimate battle or something, right?
You just came up with an idea?
This is not much different than Jeopardy, like Champions Tournament or whatever.
Tournament and Champions, sure.
Like
That's a good point.
that's what all I'm thinking of. And sometimes they would, game like how Millionaire at one point they were hyping up like somebody winning it so much that they like made sure it was on in prime time. It wasn't on at like 8; it was on different or something.
Was it?
I think it was like 9 instead or something. Like,
oh, big change.
Yeah.
But this version only lasted, a very short amount of time. But then here's one that I didn't know growing up because I barely watched the regular one as it is, right? Well, apparently, Quinn, in 1994, we were cognizant. We are well cognizant in September of 94, right? Mm-hmm. Until January of 95, there was the new Price is Right.
What?
Hosted by a man named Doug Davidson.
But the new one is already airing. They just don't call it that.
That's correct, Quinn.
Yeah.
The new Price is Right is turning back the clock.
And Bob Barker, the executive producer of the regular one, was none too pleased about the nomenclature here. But one way or another,
because he's like, we're the new Price is Right. They're not the new. They're the new Price is Right. What is this?
Why don't we take a quick peek at this one, folks?
Already, it just looks worse. What? Oh my god, like the new version of the music.
Yeah.
It's like jazzier or something.
It's a whole different set. It's a different studio it's taped in, I think.
This music, it's like mixing
it's
like
crap.
Hip hop or something.
Yeah, hip hop.
Yeah, very hip, very hop.
A lot of hip. All right.
It's got that jazz to it too, like it's WWF like programming or something.
Ronnie has just told me that this could
Why
be
does he talk like this?
Also, his
show in
suit
the
coat is really big,
of
like those
television.
90s suit coats.
Very nice. Is this like the... I get it. It's the 90s one.
Yeah.
It's
right
new.
Now, we don't want to do it
I don't
alone,
like
so
this
Bert,
guy.
I
Who
need a
is this?
contestant right now.
Okay, Doug. Joselito Lopez. Come on.
Doug Davidson.
down.
Now, by the way, the announcer is Burton Richardson, who was Arsenio Hall's announcer.
Okay.
Arsenio Hall. That guy.
I see.
He says his name. Remember?
This is reminding me immediately. There's always a guy in a military uniform or like a Navy outfit on The Price is Right.
Well,
that's like a common thing.
So you're asking who this guy was?
Yeah.
Well, he was on The Young and the Restless.
Okay, that's why he looked somewhat familiar, but I couldn't pin it.
And somewhat strange because he's a soap star.
He's got a mullet.
Yeah. It just sounds, hi,
Yeah.
welcome to The Price is Right. It's going to be good. Anyway, if you like this show, I'm very sorry, but I don't think anyone did because it only lasted for 4 months. So with
What
that
a weird
said-
experiment.
I know. There's also various international versions. There's the UK had their own produced version.
So wait, they didn't just air the Bob Barker ones in English speaking locations?
Well,
like why? What's the point, right?
It might it might have aired in the UK. I am not saying it didn't. I don't know that for sure. But I think it would just be fun to check out. Let's check out a 1985 episode of the British Price is Right from ITV. What do you think about that,
Okay,
Michael
sure.
Quinn? Let's see what we got here.
Is everything in pounds? Am I not going to understand the prices?
Let's see what we got.
Oh, this guy looks very English.
Teeth are falling out of his face.
Wait, who's the announcer lady?
I don't know.
Oh, no, these are the Barker's beauties of this.
Or, Thurston's.
Now, notice it's a
Trinidad.
quid symbol for The Price is Right instead of $1.
Well, come on down. Oh, the host
this
does
sounds
the
like
come on down.
Family Feud. Family.
It is Family Feud.
No, it's slightly different.
Part of it was Family Feud. Jim Feces. All right, where's he from? Puddingville?
We just need to get to the price guessing.
All right,
we
let's
need
get to
we
it
need
here.
the unique quid aspect to this.
Okay. Could we?
And does he say quid or pounds? I'm very curious.
Not too good tonight. But we have 300 people in our studio audience.
This is 1985, by the
who
way.
have travelled through the rain and the
But this
mist
guy
and the
sounds a
fog,
lot like
and they brought their own sunshine.
Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous guy.
He does.
Yeah.
I'm Robin Leach, and I do know why.
Yeah, these are very 80s British people, like the lady with the red hair.
Sorry to hear that. I'm just kidding. You know I love you guys in England.
Now then, we have our first 4 tenants of Contestant Row, and I want you to give them a really good welcome.
Okay.
Sharon!
We're going to skip
Sharon! Hey, wait.
We're going to get to the show. We're still introducing
a decanter set.
A decanter set.
Very British.
Tray,
Very British.
A cut glass decanter, and a set of crystal liqueur glasses to give any occasion some
It's the
extra
most
sparkle.
British thing I've ever seen.
All right.
Okay, how much does it cost?
Yeah, all right. You really want to know?
I want to know.
All right.
Let's do it.
Now, I want the price of that lot. You get 1 bid each, and whoever bids the nearest without going over
This is
wins
like
the decanter.
Bizarro
wins
World
all
or
that,
something.
great.
and joins me on stage. If you go over,
Probably raining outside.
this could be yours if the price is right.
Looks like it's raining
Sharon,
outside.
what is your bid on the tray, decanter, and 3 glasses?
£89.
Pounds. Are you happy now?
Pounds.
I'm going to go with 120 pounds.
Somebody going to say quid instead.
Let's see what this idiot says.
£94.
I'm going to go with 120.
Is that like saying bucks? Okay.
Yeah.
Donna, your opinion.
104.
Oh, see, she's with me. She's with me. We're getting closer.
How do you even know?
130.
130 says Maureen.
130 pounds.
I said
The
120.
actual price
That's
we're
heavy.
looking for is £123.
Wow, I got to say the last lady was almost there.
She looks
was
like she knows
closer
what a
than everyone.
She knows a decanter set.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
There's also an Australian version. Hey, Mark Rourke and all you guys down there in Oz.
Crikey, now they have dollars over there.
Now they do. They have Australian dollars, yes.
Kangaroo bucks or whatever.
That's not what it's called, Quinn. And we're going to check out an Australian version here. Say, I told you, we're celebrating the Price is Right today,
Let's
damn
do
it. Not just Bob Barker. The whole concept of this bizarre show where you...
What is this logo? What am I looking at?
This is 1996. We're skipping ahead here. Who? Marty Anus?
This guy's too young for this. Get out of here.
What's your problem with it?
Also, the logo is hideous. Right?
It looks like they did it in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
By accident.
Horrible, Joe.
What do we got here?
I don't like this guy already.
Really?
Thank you. Welcome to the show. Thank you very much for coming in. Hello, welcome
Fosters.
to Studio number 9.
Stop.
Hi, Katrina.
Hi, how you going?
Hi. Good.
Wait, why are they pre-picked?
I don't.
My knees are like
No, they picked them already.
Your knees have gone to
The
do
announcer
it.
did.
Well, hang on tight. We'll
We
look
just
after you.
skipped it.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Larry. How are you?
Good, thank you. Trish.
Hi, can I have a new cab, please?
What?
You didn't even play
What
the
a
game.
refreshing
Larry, how are
question.
you?
I thought-
What's the prize? Why is the guy wearing
It's
a
like a
hat?
sailboat.
What's this now?
It's a mobile phone.
It's a mobile phone.
Oh, when you're on the boat, you can call people.
Worst Australian
He has a
accent
boat
ever.
captain's hat on.
Well, he's got to sail the high seas.
Also,
Oh, wait.
no beauty. It's a male.
Yeah. Are they low seas because it's Australia and it's reversed?
Maybe.
It's not high. Anyway, a cell phone. What does that cost, Quinn, in Australian bucks?
$4.99.
Yeah, I'm with her.
Locked away, Chris.
Pricey.
180.
280.
No.
See, that could be right
$4.99.
though because of the
150,
Australian
fine.
Sorry, Trish.
I like the first guess.
doggedy doos, whatever they are.
540. You're all locked away. 550. Our price, Dennis. It's you.
Oh, $5.50. Wow, Dennis just killed it.
Now, did you notice he just flicked his card?
He's
I
very
like that.
He's the young host, Quinn.
Yeah, I'm not with this.
He's like 38.
It's too
he's
young.
like
You got to be like 50 minimum on Price is Right to be the host.
Now there are other versions all over the world. There's the Philippines has their own version. Italy, Japan.
Man, Japanese Price is Right must be wild.
What about Latvian
Yeah,
Price is
Latvia.
Right?
Because on Japanese TV, usually there's also somebody. There's always a picture of somebody watching the show in the corner.
Why do they do that?
Because it's just the thing they do.
Why do they do like streaming in like the 80s?
They were doing it like way before
Yeah.
anybody. They were like Twitch streaming on their regular
Why?
Nippon network. I don't know. It's what they do. There's always somebody like Twitch streaming, commentating,
reacting to it,
reacting
right?
to whatever's
So
on.
weird.
Yeah,
Not annoying. Who would want to
I
watch
love
people
it.
watch a TV show?
I love it.
That's what we do every
It's so
Friday.
weird that it's charming.
Yeah, I know.
Like-
So Bob Barker's tenure obviously is storied. It is long. There's some bumps in the road that we're not covering in detail, but he did finally say that he was going to retire. And he announced his retirement on October 31st, 2006.
Everything is going beautifully. There are people here on the show who say that the shows are better than ever, and I like that. And I might be able to do the show another year, but I think it's better 1 year too soon than 1 year too late.
And he said he was going to retire at the end of that season, and he did. So his final episode, Bob Barker's final episode, aired June 15th, 2007.
Thank you, folks. Thank you. I love you. Here is the first item up for bids on our show.
He was aged 83, finally giving it up. And as everyone listening probably knows, well, at least you in the U.S., he was replaced 3 months later, October 15th, 2007, by none other than, and an odd choice at the time.
At the time, it was very weird.
Drew Carey.
Hey, welcome to The Price is Right.
Drew Carey of The Drew Carey Show, and Cleveland Rocks.
And
all
also,
that.
Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
He was the host of
so
that.
that was the thing, is that at first people were like, Drew Carey, shouldn't he be doing another sitcom or something?
But he had branched out.
But the thing was, Whose Line Is It Anyway, if you recall, on Comedy Central in between that time, was getting a lot of play, and people were seeing Drew in a role of kind of like a pseudo game show host.
Yeah.
It's weird, but it actually was kind of a good fit, and I could see why maybe they saw him when they were picking, and they were like, you know what, that could work, right?
Yeah.
Because he was just good at it. He was good at like hosting stuff.
He's affable. He's likable.
Yeah.
He just had he has the wit for it,
Plus,
the quick wit.
there was never anything. Drew Carey wasn't like a controversial figure in any way. He was always like, I always just associated him with fun.
An everyman.
Right? Like, yeah, just an everyman.
An everyman.
Like, there's nothing crazy about him. He's just a good time.
Good time.
Yeah.
And even though the Price is Right purists, which I'm sure that's a thing, some people turned it off, much like, to be fair, I have not had nearly the same interest in ever trying to track down time to watch Jeopardy ever since Alex Trebek isn't there anymore.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So
you either get Blossom or
Ken Jennings.
Ken Jennings, yeah.
I don't want him. I want him playing it. I don't want him.
I never understood the appeal of putting like the best Jeopardy player ever as the host. Shouldn't he be playing or something? Or shouldn't there be a show where people try to stump Ken Jennings, like win Ben Stein's money or something?
Win Ken Jennings pennies.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Win
Kenny's pennies.
Win Ken's winnings. Because his Jeopardy winnings, you see?
Oh, he's putting up his winnings.
And they should have a counter of like the winnings are like dropping or whatever, and like by the end of the show it's at 0.
Yeah, I mean, there were people that gave up on Price is Right.
Yeah.
Once Drew Carey started hosting, there are other people that were critical because no one likes change, and Bob Barker was doing it since before people that were watching were born.
Yeah.
So I totally get that, but the ones I have seen of Drew, and I'm not going to pretend to have watched the show a real lot under the tenure of Drew Carey.
Yeah.
But I've seen a little bit of it.
I've seen the Drew Carey show when I'm getting my oil changed or something.
Yeah,
like that kind of thing.
Something at Jiffy Lube or something like that,
yeah,
right?
like it's on the TV.
Waiting for a doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
At jury duty.
Right, yeah.
He's good. Mm-hmm. He's fine.
He's really okay. The only thing that's disconcerting is that Drew has changed his hair a little bit, and he's changed his glasses, which has been a real
was a big deal.
Throw off for me.
He has a beard sometimes now.
Sometimes he has a beard. Sometimes he doesn't.
Yeah, I know.
And he looks like a baby.
Yeah.
Like, it's just very strange.
But I'm very proud of Drew for carrying this on for almost 16 years now as of press time. It's a long time to do a show. It really is.
I mean, he's basically like, he's at the point where Barker was in the 80s now. Like, he's going to be the host of this until Drew's old.
And Drew, mid-60s right now?
Yeah, because I think we're in a weird spot now where I don't know, like, what Drew Carey, like, I don't think he would leave now. Like, he's been there so long that it's kind of like how Steve Harvey's now been on Family Feud for over a decade, too.
Yeah.
Like, would he even ever leave? It's just such a good gig.
Yeah, and as long as you want to keep doing it, they're not going to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
it's
why
true.
would you fire, successful
Those are two
hosts?
of the longest standing that and Pat Sajak, but he's leaving.
He's
too.
retiring.
So
yeah.
it's like it's really going to be now. It's going to be Steve Harvey and Drew Carey are the long-standing.
Well, I'll tell you what. When we did our Wheel of Fortune episode, we were talking about how Pat Sajak was still doing it. When was he ever going to stop? And then right after it comes out, he announces retirement. So
it wasn't our fault.
Be on the lookout for Drew Carey leaving The Price is Right.
You got to be there for like 30 years or something before you think about quitting The Price is Right.
What if he announces like he's
like
stepping
tomorrow,
down? Yeah.
like
the day
Tuesday after this or whatever?
Hey, don't say that Aswash Memories didn't call it.
We'll have to do Family Feud next for
Oh,
Steve Harvey.
Get this man out of this job.
Quit too.
Bob Barker did make 3 more appearances on his beloved game show in April of 2009, in December of 2013 in honor of his 90th birthday, and also April Fool's Day. Listen to this, 2015, he hosted the first part of the show.
This is like a trick. Like
Yeah.
he's just there and like you're like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah.
What would you like second?
A new car.
Look what we have for you, Mary.
It's a brand new SUV.
One thing, too, we got to mention about Bob Barker is that as time went on, he became more and more like the curmudgeon-y old man as the host.
Okay, so I attribute this to his appearance in Happy Gilmore.
That he probably was playing on that a little bit, don't you think?
Yeah, but after that, suddenly it was like he was famous for like, you don't cross Bob Barker because he'll beat the shit out of you or whatever.
I can't believe you're a professional golfer. I think you should be working at the snack bar. You better relax, Bob. There is no way that you could have been as bad at hockey as you are at golf.
All right, let's go.
And it all comes down to like this fight scene that obviously is a stunt double, but it's really funny.
No, it's really Bob Barker.
Is it?
Yeah.
I thought there's a part where they're like rolling down a hill or whatever. There's
He
no
did
way.
his own stunt.
Really? Well, either way, I mean, he has a fight scene with Bob Barker.
The price is wrong, bitch.
And it became this thing, like, especially among young kids who saw the movie.
Yeah.
And it was like, from then on, I always thought, oh, wow, these contestants, they better not cross Bob Barker. Like, he's no joke. Like, he'll beat you up.
And I think, in real life, I don't think he was the affable, lovable...
I don't think any game show host is. As an adult, at least. When I was a kid, I did.
Not to shatter anyone's illusions out there. I mean, Regis might have been. Regis might have really been like
Regis
that.
was one of the nicest people ever.
I think he really was. And that's why he was as successful
literally
as he
no one
was.
has ever said a bad word about that man.
You don't think? I haven't heard anything.
I've never heard a bad word about Regis.
I think fans, certain television viewers find him obnoxious, you know what I mean? The personality and the way he does this.
I could do an entire episode of this show on just Regis.
Yeah. I guess we're going to have to
eventually.
One day, huh?
He's one of my faves.
No, I know he is.
If you've
I know
not
he
listened
is.
to our other podcast,
It's
Regis
true.
is like one of my favorite TV people in general.
Also a WWF,
Yeah.
superstar himself. And speaking of which, so was Bob Barker.
Yes.
Appeared as the guest host of Raw when they were doing guest hosts or whatever it was.
Does this bid include taxes?
Does this include taxes? Let's not even think about taxes.
Well,
no taxes.
well, wait a minute, Bob. Everybody has to think about paying taxes.
Well, I know that we're not here to discuss that.
I don't know. Wrestling basically is a game show anyway.
And they're both fixed anyway, apparently. And, that was, quietly faded into, I guess, retirement in his 90s. It's just incredible to think about. To do it for that long. I would get curmudgeon-y, too, if I was hosting that shit for 50 years. Let's just call it what it is, right?
I mean, there must be some, like, really bad contestants.
Yeah.
They're frustrating or whatever. There is a clip of Bob Barker getting upset with somebody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, because they, fuck up the thing, and he's like, I'm going home. And he's being funny. He plays it off because he's got a show to host. But, yeah. But I'll tell you what, as a game show host, he was very good at it.
Yes.
Whatever went on behind the scenes or not, I don't know all the details, but he's very good on screen as a game show host.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he found his calling, let's just say.
Game show host.
Yeah.
Very few do.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's rare.
There's not a lot of standout. I mean, there's a handful. That's it.
Yeah.
And then, in the history of them, there's a dozen?
I mean, it's TV, so I
It's
guess
TV.
as time will go on, the ranks of game show hosts in history will increase. But
Well, we'll have to do a special ranking, of the Mount Rushmore of game show hosts.
Yeah, game show host ranking.
We can't have Alyssa on for that. It needs to be something else.
That should be like a top 10, actually.
Top 10? There's only 11.
There's more than that.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm joking around. But The Price is Right is considered by some critics as the greatest game show of all time. I don't agree with that.
Yeah,
I'm saving that thought for the end of the episode here. It's not my favorite show. I'm going to be honest with you.
No.
But I don't dislike it.
It's
My heart belongs to Jeopardy.
Its biggest problem over time to me was that it's on for an hour. I could never get over why the show needed to be an hour long.
In 2023, that's a bit of an ask.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Even back then, though, it felt like because it was so abnormal with its long time, like no other game show was like that.
No.
It really did feel like by the end of an episode, you felt like, what time is it? How long has this been on? Like, because you go through 2 showcases or whatever, and then they face off at the. It's so long. It's just very long.
So
I don't know.
You don't like the length of it.
The length.
I don't dislike it, and I never did, and I like the show.
I didn't dislike it. No, I'm just saying its length is what hurt it.
But I am a quiz shaman trivia show type of person. So I always really like Jeopardy, Win Ben Stein's Money, another one.
That was a good one.
And if it comes down to like the more lower brow, again, not an insult, I'd probably prefer Wheel to this.
Yeah.
You know?
Family Feud's fun, though.
Yeah, and that's like middle ground,
Yeah.
right? That's more of a guessing game, and it's fun.
Guess the survey results or whatever.
Just a survey. But I really like it. I don't know if it is deserving of the greatest game show of all time title. Maybe it certainly had a lot of wide appeal because it's very easy to
I mean, I can
follow.
see where longevity does count for something in game shows.
Yeah.
Ones that last the test of time, like The Price is Right. The fact that it's still on. It's definitely like the longest running at this point, right?
Yes.
No doubt about it. I don't know. There's something to be said about that.
Yeah, that's true, Quinn. That's a good point. Longevity. But I thought it was worthy of an episode anyway before the news of Bob Barker, just because so many people, like we said, grew up watching it in some way, shape, or form, whatever the circumstance. There could be people 10 years younger than us listening to this show right now.
They've
or
definitely seen it.
And people 20 years older than us listening to this show that have definitely grown up
It's
watching
definitely
The Price
a
is Right.
pop culture like icon, if you will. Like it's something that's just it's always on TV 5 days a week, every week.
Yep.
For years.
For years.
Since TV began.
Reliably.
Yeah. Like it's just there.
It's just there. And we wanted to give it a shout out and also pay, homage to Bob Barker himself, who was the longest host. And obviously a reminder to have your pet spayed and neutered, as Bob would want.
Bob Barker reminding you, help control the pet population. Have your pet spayed or neutered. Goodbye, buddy.
Folks, we hope you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane, because The Price is Right in its own right is a very nostalgic show, even now, to this day, right? It's
true.
Already a retro show. We hope you like this, and we want to hear your thoughts. Again, we didn't get too deep into the weeds on the gameplay and all the little games, especially Plinko.
We got deep enough. Plinko.
Stop it. But folks, let us know what you think, and please be sure to follow us at AWM Podcast on Twitter and join our Facebook group. But we will be back next week with something completely different.
Yeah.
And we know you're going to like this one. Until that time, thank you guys so much for listening. We hope you liked it, and we will see you next week for more Acid Wash Memories.
See ya.
Like what you heard? Be sure to leave a review and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. We will see you next week.